You are now tuning in to the Evolution Daily Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Evolution Daily Podcast. Wow! We're in Venice Beach right now. Thank God we have this in the background and not the white wall Hunter was setting up here. I'm here with a good friend of mine, ex-roommate, technically my first wing.
Early beginnings, man. Good times.
Technically my first wing.
Columbus, Ohio. Shout out Columbus. Dude,
yeah, man.
It was a long time ago. It makes me think about, like, dude, how many clubs have you been to in your life?
Yeah.
You ever thought about that?
Yeah.
You ever thought of how many nightclubs you've been to?
It's been a lot, yeah. I miss Charlie Bear.
Charlie Bear.
I miss Charlie Bear.
Back to Charlie Bear. How do we even talk?
So you're the first person in my life that I ever came to and I was like, dude, I'm looking at this game shit.
Right.
I found this shit online.
Right.
That's like how to meet chicks and how to fuck chicks. You're the first person that I ever hit up about it.
No.
And because at that time, we would go out together all the time anyways.
All the time.
I always talk about how, like, I was a raging alcoholic even before a game, and then really the way that I was able to do games so quickly, because a lot of guys are like, I watched the videos for a year, 2 years. The way I was able to do it so quick was by still getting wasted.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we'd go to
Yes.
fucking... Dude,
Yeah.
remember dollar beers at Gooey's?
Yes, that was the initial stop before Charlie Bear, dude.
Yup.
Yeah, we'd drink as many beers as we could for $1.
Yup.
Probably hit about $15 each beer, something like that.
Yup.
And then we'd try to scrounge our way into Charlie Bear.
And the winter...
Stickiest floor in Columbus. Shout out to the stickiest floor that's ever existed in Columbus, Ohio.
Dude, that shit, it was like you're walking in quicksand.
Dude,
Each
it was
step
ridiculous.
was like...
But in a way, did it not work good for conversation? And I think, like, I remember when we went and you were starting to get in the game, you always had the drive of talking to everyone. And that's like a very very important skill to have in all aspects of life, is the ability to just at least start something.
Mm-hmm.
At least start something. Who knows how it's gonna go? That's life. It's not promised. It's not certain. Whatever.
Yeah.
But dude, like, every time we'd go out to Charlie Bear, you're here. You're there. You're meeting this chick. You're talking to these chicks. Talking to those chicks. You're talking to those chicks. And I think, like, that was just definitely something that, like, you internalized it. You learned about it, but you internalized it. So, like,
well, it was so exciting. Dude, I even remember a conversation we had once. You probably don't remember it because you probably felt nothing from it, but I remember this conversation because you weren't like in the game. Like, you weren't going out doing pickup. And I'm sure when you went out, you thought about, like, getting laid or whatever, but you just, like, would get laid.
Yeah.
You just, like, had chicks online or, like, through whatever. You just were, like, getting laid. And I remember one time we were at Gooey's, and it just came up, natural conversation. You said, like, when's the last time you got laid? Or, like, when's the last time you hooked up with a chick? And I remember, like, in such shame, because we wouldn't talk about that.
Yeah.
We would talk about, like, girls and stuff, but, like, I didn't know you that long, and I was always deeply ashamed of my inability to fuck. I was so horny. I always wanted chicks. So I probably said it, and then you just, like, in passing, like, didn't give a fuck, really. But I was like, it's been, like, 2 years, like, close to 2.5 years or something, and I just was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still were just kind of like going out, getting wasted, and I wouldn't ever talk to girls really, but before game, I would try dancing. It'd be like a big group of girls, and I would try to kind of like be on the edge and kind of like do a little something.
I remember that. Yeah.
But yeah, man, and then you came out with me for what you told me in Vegas recently was a night that you noticed something had shifted, the Heather night.
What I feel like is, in a way, flipped from what you're saying. Maybe you didn't feel anything by it at the night, but that night I felt like I knew. You know, like, I felt like I knew that you understood how it works.
Yeah.
And, like, like I think it's one of those things where like you look for in other people. It's like a moment where you go, okay, he gets it, he understands it. Like
Yeah.
we're in Vegas, you have your boot camp students, right?
Yeah.
And as you slowly watch them, you see that like forcing them out of their comfort zone is a super important part of them understanding that they can't control it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I watched the same thing with you, and I think that night with the Heathers night, we were all hanging out, and I turned to you, and her friend was like, "Yo, is she cool? Is he a good guy? Whatever." And I was like, "He's got it." Turn to you, and you turn to Heather, and you're like, "Let's get out of here." And I just knew, like, we walked back, and I just knew that you got it. I knew that like it wasn't a big damage. You know, you didn't have to come out. You didn't have to make it a whole thing. You didn't have to get drunk.
Yeah.
You just said what you wanted.
Yeah.
And you got what you wanted.
Yeah.
And I think like that's a big part of understanding how game works, is getting to that point where like you go, I want this. You know what I mean? I think you have to want a lot of things. I think a lot of dudes get caught up in like not wanting shit. You get complacent with a lot of different. If you have a whole bunch of stuff, for instance, right? Like you had a student. I'm not gonna say names, but you had a student who has a very good life. Right?
Yeah.
He has a good job. He has some nice clothes. He's a good-looking guy, tall guy, but like he doesn't quite want things. He has things. So all his other needs are being met.
Yeah. You got to be hungry.
You gotta want that shit.
Yeah.
You gotta want it. You
Yeah.
gotta. It's not. I like that you say this. You say this a lot in your videos. That you have to like. You have to like deserve it. You have to like shamelessly deserve things.
Yeah.
And I think that's in a way there's a lot of
Being like
truth to that.
entitled to those things and like,
Yes.
yeah, that's fucking mine. Like that girl right there, I'm fucking
Dude,
like,
we've
yeah.
demonized the word entitled.
Yeah.
Entitled now means like this whole weird fucking thing about like, oh, you think you deserve it without any effort, blah, blah, blah. There's some things in life that you should feel entitled to do because of things you can't control. As a man, if you want women, you don't necessarily deserve them, but you're entitled to a life with a woman that wants to be with you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be that. So I don't know, man, like just a big part of development is getting to the want phase, and I feel like you hit that want. We went out. We were talking about Charlie Bear, you know what I mean? And then those 2 years, like us going out, hanging out, I think you needed it, but you didn't want it.
Yeah.
And I think the needing it creates a different kind of approach.
Well, it was like a desperate need. And the desperate need, I remember, even would lead to just so much creepy, weird shit that I would do.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you remember Joe, your guys' neighbor. He lived in your guys'
Joe
apartment.
Hart.
Bro, I remember.
Not his whole name, but he sucks.
He brought this fucking chick around, Sarah McElhenney. This little chick, Sarah.
Yeah,
you remember her?
Yeah, I remember Sarah.
Dude, I remember like Joe was bringing her around in a sense of like, this is like my chick, trying to make her that, even though it wasn't. And I just remember, this is before game. I remember like I'm texting her, I'm inviting her to hang out under the guise of being a friend, and she's doing it. And then I try like making a move on her because we're in my bed. But I literally was just like her fucking fat little friend that she met through Joe. And it like didn't go anywhere. And then I remember Joe finding out that like I'm fucking trying to hang out with Sarah and stuff, and just all that weirdness where there's no options in my life. So then the one that kind of comes in as an option, I'm all in on. I'm being sketchy about it. It's just so bad.
Yeah, and I feel like women can tell, dude. I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like abundance creates is like the lack of desperation. Abundance says, okay, dude, listen, like, okay, she's going out tonight. Okay, I see her on Snapchat posting at the club, so I know that she's being hit on all night. If she's a decent-looking chick, preface here, I work in nightclubs all over Hollywood, West Hollywood. I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I can tell you that every single hot chick that comes into the club, they meet a circuit. They do a circuit. And this is just from my own perspective. Hot chicks come in and the promoters put them in an area where they have to be completely circled through the club. So 30 girls will come in and they'll all hit every single table from the entrance to where the DJ is, will see the girls that are circulated. What that creates is competition. All these dudes who have tables, they talk to them. If you have a decent looking chick that comes into the club, she's being hit on 40 to 50 times a night. Those are just, and that's low numbers. That's dudes that are just trying to grab her, trying to say hi, trying to touch her, stuff like that. So you know how club, and this is like these are busy Hollywood clubs. I mean, obviously it's not that bad and, like fancier, nice clubs, but like, let's take that down by half. 25 dudes on an average night probably hit on an attractive girl. Let's just say 25. If that's the case, like, you can't be stuck on one chick.
Yes.
You cannot be stuck on that. And she deals with so many other dudes that provide desperation on like, imagine, flip the script. Imagine you were walking around and 25 chicks today just started talking, all different kinds. Attractive ones, not attractive ones.
I like this fantasy.
Dude, 25 a day. Eventually you would go, dude, I cannot fucking just deal with all these fucking random girls. You would hit a peak where you could smell bullshit from a mile away. 25 different chicks were hitting on you every single day. So imagine that. Imagine they have to be expert. You have to provide them expertise. Like, you have to provide them crafted bullshit. You have to provide them, like, emotion, things they won't get from 24 other dudes. And I think back to Charlie Bear, man, and I think, like, your intention, what I saw for potential for you, dude, was like, your intention was there. And that is, like, intent is so important in game. Intent is so important, dude. Like, it's you going and saying, I'm just gonna do this and doing it. Intention is it's everything. And it's if you built a strong foundation and you understood. And another thing I want to shout out, which is something that, like, is profound to me from you, is the 30-day challenge of you going out.
Oh,
I know I bring
night.
this up.
Every night,
I bring this up because I've never still seen anyone else do this. And I think it's, like, fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's, like, no matter what. No matter what happens, that forces you, even just, that's like some, like, how do I describe that? That's like some, like, outlier shit, because it's like, it's it has to be a dedication level.
Oh, yeah, because I was punting away every other aspect of life at that time.
Dude, you knew that you had to do it.
When you're up till fucking 4 a.m., you're not, like, rip-roaring for the gym the next day. You're like, no, you got to get through your work day. I was still working at the time. Like, it was, you're doing nothing but going out and gaming. I would go on a date with a chick. She'd come back over, either fuck or not, like, regardless. And it's 10:30, and I'm like, hey, I gotta bounce out. I'm on a 30-night challenge. I would have told him that, but yeah, man. Dude. It was when I discovered game, to me, it was just so mind-blowing, because now, obviously, I'm very desensitized to it. I've been a coach myself for so many years or whatever, but when I discovered that you could learn it, it was just like everyone I knew that was getting laid, they just got laid very naturally. My buddy, do you remember Farrar?
Yeah, I
remember Farrar? He would get laid through his fraternity, which was also, it was like a, what do you call that? Like a co-ed fraternity.
Yeah.
They would have their theme gatherings all together. He'd fuck girls from that. He dated girls from that. You know, you were getting laid however you were getting laid. It was just like, I didn't ever think, my mind never entered the place of, let me Google or YouTube how to get laid, how to hook up with more girls. I just had no clue. So then we were already going out. So now I'm like, we're going out and I'm fucking talking to girls and starting to very slowly make things happen over time. It was fucking crazy.
So, knowing what you know now, how do you think we all got laid? How do you think Farrar was getting laid? How do you think, like, how do you think Seth was getting laid all the time? How do you think J-Mac was getting laid all the time? I mean,
right.
Like, our looking at the difference between wanting it and it just happen. You know what I mean? Seeing it. So like, what from your experience now, you know, all the things that you've experienced, what would you say the difference is? What separates guys who don't get laid and guys who get laid often?
Right.
What really separates them?
Yeah. So different answers for a couple of those people that you mentioned. So Farrar, for example, Farrar was getting laid even when we were in high school, right? Farrar always had this for one, he was always, I would say, like average to above average looking. He always was like pretty thin, but then got some muscle going and stuff. But also, he was a go-getter, always. So for him, it was when there was girls in our high school or girls we would end up meeting, he was gaming. He just straight up was gaming. He would never call it that. He was never into pickup. None of us knew what that was. But if we were at a party, Farrar was like, oh, those fucking 2 girls from Wellington over there. Like, I'm going to go fucking talk to them. So he would game a lot, right?
Okay.
Then you stack that with the fact that he ends up in this co-ed fraternity, sorority. They're having huge parties all the time. And now he's basically still gaming, but in that massive social context.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a recipe for not being able to fail. So you definitely have something to be said for people that are just in general far more social than other people.
True.
You could have taken me in those like more insecure 20 to 22 year old days, of course being very overweight, but just in general my lack of intention. Put me in those same parties, those same scenarios, I just wouldn't have gone for it the way that he did.
Yeah.
Then you take somebody like J-Mac, right? Because he was fucking Emma back in the day.
Dude.
Which, dude, I've never told you this. This is really fucking funny. Emma came back in the mix in my life way later in life.
Really?
Oh, dude, me and all my roommates that I've had, you never met Trey, Andrew, and Ryan. I don't think you met any of them, but Emma came back in the mix. She had been at some of our house parties. You remember Alyssa?
Do you remember
My
Alyssa?
roommate Ryan was fucking Alyssa. So it started where we would just see them out all the time.
No.
But bro, and I hope she never sees this or hears about this. I'm sure she won't. Bro, Emma went downhill hard.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, she had the worst menthol smoker's voice you've ever heard. We would imitate her, and oh guys, I saw Emma last night. You gotta smoke. You got any noops? Got any ports for me? Dude, she kind of went a little downhill. She went a little downhill.
She was teetering on the edge there.
But dude, I don't know why it's so ingrained. I remember the night that J-Mac fucked her, how hot she was at that time. I remember what she was wearing.
She had an insane body.
Dude, she was fucking
an insane
hot.
person, but she was amazing. And J-Mac was actually, that was one of many girls. J-Mac went through like a couple other girls that we know. I mean, if they're never going to see this show, a couple girls, he just ran through them. And what's so interesting about J-Mac is he's not like a very social person. He's quiet. He's not like weird quiet, but he's just not. He's not the life of the party. He's not a loud, boisterous person. He's a really chill, calm dude.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said with, natural dudes that are natural at getting pussy. Like there's something that they like. There's something that we there's something that we understand is blurred between the lines. There's a social order, but then there's just instincts. And I feel like you definitely, when you get a same day pull or a night pull, you feel the instincts almost more than the logic. Do you know what I mean? You go out, you meet a chick, and you may not even have that great of a mental connection. You may be listening to her, and you're just like, but you can feel that she's into you, and you can feel the escalation, and you can feel her comfort with it, and her being down to leave with you, or being down to even just go fuck you in the car. You know what I mean? I feel like that's the learning curve.
Well, and with him too, my answer for him is I feel like his intentions were always so pure. he was so into that. What would you call it? It wasn't the rave scene back then. It was like the Columbus hippie drug scene.
Like bummy.
The
drug.
Weird Wednesdays.
Yeah, he was like
the bummy drug scene.
The bummy drug. And they were cool. Most of them were cool dudes, but they were very much like, I forget who. Someone had a coin. It was Adam. Adam was one of them. Remember Adam?
Yep.
He had a fucking hilarious name for them. I don't remember. It was like the cool dirtbag kids or something. It was something.
Yeah.
Like they were just into drugs and fucking drugs and they were just whatever. But like he also was he was just I think his great trait that got him a lot of pussy is authenticity.
Yes.
And I think that like there's some people you can just tell they're not going to bullshit. You know what I mean? You meet someone, there's some people out there that are just authentic. They just don't know how to not be authentic. You know what I mean? Good or for bad. And I think chicks really respond well to authenticity.
Yeah.
If she doesn't feel, when we used to come up, we're going back to Charlie Bear. I like using that as like a basis point for where we are now. Because like, dude, I think about everything that's happened since then. How long have we known each other, dude? Years and
31
years.
now,
Dude,
21, about 10 years.
Yeah, dude,
about 10 years.
And so much is that. Look at what you've become in 10 years. It's all been an incredible learning.
How long have you lived in LA now?
7 years, January.
Wow, that's so crazy.
Yeah, dude.
He moved out here with a fucking chick.
Yeah.
He moved out here with a fucking chick. That's so crazy.
And I hit a wall of just uncertainty in LA because LA is not a dating city. You don't meet a lot of people who date here. You meet a lot of people here who are like opportunity-based people, and it's really hard. I haven't really seriously dated a chick since I moved out here with that girl because of the lifestyle that I have, because of the fact that like I'm constantly surrounded by, I have such an abundance of women in my life that I literally am just like focused on other things. Like it's like almost like we were saying, like a pot of gold. I work at a pot of gold, and so I'm more interested in keeping the cauldron cracks together so it doesn't break.
Would you say too that these experiences that you've seen, you've talked to me about, like earlier today about last night, the whole table of guys where they're not fucking, hanging out with any chicks, and then you grab girls. Basically, you've had this happen where you send girls into the table, the guys are excited, the girls just go fucking drink all their bottle, peace out.
All the time.
Do you think that a lot of the behavior of these Hollywood, LA type women has changed your view on women in general?
That's a good question. I think that LA women have very little desire for anything except for the top. And I feel like other women in by contrast in other places are nowhere near as competitive as LA women. Now don't get me wrong, there are humble people in LA, but where I work at and what I see in the club environments is that a lot of these chicks, they are just ruthless. They're ruthless people. And
they want to date Black Bear. They really think they're going to come out here from wherever they came from and that they're going to date MGK or Black Bear or something.
Here's the crazy thing. They don't want to date. They want opportunities from them.
They want to be around them.
They are around them. Because this is just an amazing quote from Inventing Anna, that show on Netflix. There's a scene where she's doing her research from a wealth equity manager, and she's like, do you know how wealth is circulated among the rich? And she's like, I don't know. Most people don't know. And she says it's through relationships and introductions. And that is how Hollywood works. That is how all these clubs really work. That's how, like, I work at H-Wood clubs. I'm not going to say which, but I work at a bunch of H-Wood clubs in West Hollywood. And what I see is the people that work and get the craziest gigs, they meet other people. The chicks that meet the celebrities, they get introduced. They know the right people. They know the right girls. The girls know other girls that know Drake. The girls that know other girls that know my newly adopted father, Drake's dad. He's going to adopt me soon. Dennis. Shout out to Dennis. Dennis, if you're listening.
He's a longtime watcher of the show.
Yeah, Drake's dad. He's super nice guy. But yeah, dude, he they understand the power of connection, and they're not here to. They're not really interested in the guys. They're more so interested in independence, financial independence.
Okay.
And where, like Columbus, you've got a lot more people who want to create
More
family.
prone to date.
Yeah.
Versus here.
But imagine, but that has a lot to do with options. And I think if you're gonna, we were talking about. Can I say this about Miami? We were talking about you going to. So we were talking about you moving to Miami, right?
Wait, when?
In Vegas. Do you even remember that? You were saying.
Oh, I was just saying I should.
Why wouldn't you? Does it have anything to do with the fact that city chicks move differently than big town city chicks move differently than small town city chicks? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure your business is great, but I think city chicks have they have a different mindset, and there's a certain dominance that has to be displayed where otherwise it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? It like the same thing for when you see a really hot chick. What works on a really hot chick does not work on an unattractive chick. Being mean to an unattractive chick, she's gonna take it personally. She's not attractive.
Yeah.
Hot chick gets her joking. She doesn't take it personally because she knows she's hot. She doesn't need your validation.
Right.
Same thing with Columbus, kind of small town mindset girls versus girls who are hustling. Girls who they know that they're only 6 degrees of separation from whatever they want.
Yep.
And in any environment, just by being girls, just by having looks, having accessibility, knowing a promoter at 11,
right,
knowing how to meet somebody famous.
I think there's something where even if their goal isn't, because when we talk about like all the connections and all of that, it's like, well, what is their goal with that? Is it to get a rich sugar daddy? Is it to marry a rich guy? A lot of it's going to be like financial independence and stuff. Yeah. But I also think too, it's like they just love the lifestyle. You move here, you're hot. Turns out, oh my God, I used to always have to buy drinks, or some guys bought me drinks wherever. Now, like, I'm literally this crazy club, Bieber's over here. So it's the lifestyle. And I think once they end up in that lifestyle, they don't want to leave it. And a boyfriend means leaving that lifestyle. So they're not going to marry, or they're not going to date or marry until they're like late 20s or potentially later. Whereas that same girl might have settled down at 24, 25 in Columbus or some other city.
Right.
So I think a lot of it too is like, how can I be even more in this lifestyle? Oh, I thought I was cool because I was at this table at One Oak last night, but Jennifer just told me all about the after party at fucking Ty Lopez's, and Drake was there and fucking all that. How do I get into that circle? Yeah. And it's almost like they don't even have, I think a lot of these women don't really have an end goal in mind of like the clout chasing. I think that they are just clout chasing for the art of it.
I mean, there
literally
is
just for fucking like to tell Kenzie, who's still living in fucking Kansas, who I met last night. Oh my God, MGK and Megan Fox, we were at this after party. It's like just for the clout. And yeah, I mean, that's a good question of like why I don't move to Miami. And I think there's, I don't know, part of it, there's comfort zone elements. There's being close to the fam. There's, I know my area. I like my area. And then there are just parts where it's not to say that I'm not down for competition, but when I do think of this lifestyle and these women being this way more so in LA and Miami, when I hear it, it doesn't sound attractive, right? When I think of like some of the hottest girls that I've ever fucked at like Standard or places in Columbus, and the sex is fire and we hang out again and everything's just fucking great, I'm like, I don't know if I see much benefit, even sexual. I only see benefit financially moving to one of these bigger cities than I do like sexually, I guess I would say. Yeah. And it almost just sounds to me like, like, I don't know, maybe one of these girls I end up really liking and shit, they are just fucking sucking the bouncer's dick off to get to VIP like you did at fucking EDC, you know? Like, I don't, it just doesn't sound, as appealing to me the dating market, I would say.
I mean, you never know. It's not like she's gonna tell you.
Right.
I mean,
right.
she really wanted to meet Steve Aoki, you know? So you do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But dude, like dude, I think there's a certain extreme aspect to living in a city, and I think that like you have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I think that like if you are looking for a more wholesome girl, you have to almost. My mom told me something that at first I was like, why would I do that? But now the more that I think about it, I think it's actually profound. She's like, why don't you come back to Kentucky and bring a girl to LA? And at first I was like, why would I do that? Like, it's LA. There's girls, the hottest girl I've ever seen. Every week there's a new hotter girl that I've seen. But as I meet these girls, as I meet people here, I kind of understand why, because it more aligns to my fundamental values. It more aligns to like it not being just quick sex. I can have quick sex. Like I live in a city of quick sex.
Yeah.
So I agree. I agree that those things in the long term, you know what I mean? A year in Miami for you, I think that's something you'll go, man, you know, I don't know. I mean, yes, the business grew, made more money.
Yeah.
But am I happy? Am I happy to be here? Happy to be around these people? Is there an identity that I resonate with here? And if not, you know, I mean, I understand. You know, I understand. Not
It
making the move.
was funny when I lived in Miami for 3 months. During that 3 months, I had banged 12 chicks in the 3 months that I was there. 11 of them left immediately after.
Really?
Back to England, back to wherever. This is a vacation destination. Only one girl was a fucking local.
Right.
Every girl was on a flight 2 days later, 3 days later. And so I did kind of get to a point where I'm like, man, I really liked that one. I wish I could keep hanging out with that
Welcome
chick.
to how it is in a tourist spot city.
Yeah.
The majority of these chicks that you meet, definitely only going to be a one-time thing.
Limited edition.
Two-time thing.
Yeah.
And you have to like before, because I know the fans want to know what was happening in Miami. We need in-depth Justin Wayne story one of these days. I know you've talked about it. I know he really hates talking about it. He probably brought it up so much.
No, I don't mind.
Really?
It.
Okay. I have some questions.
Okay, let's go.
Let's. Where do we start? How did you meet Justin Wayne?
During the 30
did you meet?
night challenge that you're talking about earlier, I was spreading those videos all over the internet.
Yeah.
Justin DM'd me. And Justin was like, hey man, love your hustle, love your vids. What's your number? And I'm like, Justin Wayne's fucking
Incredible.
DMing me. What the fuck?
Incredible.
I send him my number. We get on the phone. He's like, go to come kick it in Miami for a week. I'm like, yeah. Like what? I hadn't been on a plane in like 6 years at that point. And he's like, I'll get your ticket. I'm like, okay. And I go down.
Okay.
And then during that week, we game together a bunch. And he's like, you should just work with me. And so I made plans. And 3 weeks later, I got somebody to take over my apartment in Columbus. I'd fucking peace out. Took a rental car down.
What do you think the most valuable thing you learned from Justin Wayne was?
100% I know exactly what it is. Justin took me on a date with him. With 2 chicks, not just him and I.
Okay.
He fucked me hard. He fucked me in my fucking asshole. He goes, hey, I got this chick. She wants to hang
Shout
with
out
me
Justin
later.
Wayne.
But she's dead set on bringing a friend. And he's like, you want to come with? I go, okay, fuck it, let's do it. These 2 French girls. At that time, I didn't know Spanish yet, so my French was still like pretty good. So I'm fucking spitting French with this one girl. It's fun. We're all having a great time. And Justin tries to pull them, get them back to the place, and they won't come with us. And afterwards, him and I go to the WeWork, which is where our office was. And we go to the office, and he's like, you know what your biggest fucking problem is? And I'm like, what? What's my biggest problem? He's like, girls view you as a boy. And I was like, oh shit. He's like, you're funny, but you're too funny. He's like, you're witty, but you're like too witty. He's like, you don't have masculine traits that I see with these women. He's like, you're different with me than you are with them. He's like, and you do have more masculine traits. He's like, you're not like feminine or anything like that. He's like, but you're just too much of a clown when you're hanging out, when you're with girls. They don't view you as a man. And it was really hard to hear. And Justin pulled no punches. He gave me a lot of very harsh criticisms.
Yeah.
And really from that moment forward, I started thinking about that a lot and what that meant and how to tap more into the masculinity I do have within me, how to try to like create more. I was like way more like boyish and shit. And, you know, there was a lot of factors to that, but one major one maybe also was that it turned out I did have extremely low tests. I was extremely low testosterone, right? So that helped, and then just a lot of different character traits with women that I've developed. So from him learning to be more of a man with women, that was a really big one. And then number two, I would say, was just I had never seen somebody that even came as close to me with being cutthroat. And he was 10x my level of cutthroat.
Really?
So everybody I gamed with in Columbus, like after you had moved and I'm like actually in the pickup scene, everybody I'm gaming with, there was like one other guy, this dude David, where we just were fucking cutthroat. Oh, these girls are giving us all these reasons.
Don't forget about Shawshank too.
Oh my God, I only met him once. But I'd only really been with like one other hardcore closer where, oh, the girls are giving reasons why they're not going to come back. Let's push. Oh, they're giving other reasons. Let's push. Until before you know it, we're at an after party and it's fun. Yeah. And then I'm fucking and whatever. Justin was like the most cutthroat. So I learned from him, you know, he was always huge on ego. He was always huge on letting go of ego. And so I really learned from him kind of what I talk about a lot. These guys are listening, like they know I talk about this a lot, of just fucking push. Who gives a fuck if like some weirdo out there would consider it needy or fucking like whatever the fuck. It's like keep pushing until you get that firm, no, we're not coming. And then, okay, then it's a no. But a lot of times the soft no's are not soft no's. Yeah. They're, are we safe? Is this gonna be fun? Yeah. Keep this energy up so we know that you're going to keep it up there. It's all these different situations. How close do you really live? How would we get there? How would we get home? Soft no's are all of those questions. So I really learned from Justin handling objections, pushing through objections until you get to what the real no is. We talk about this, for everybody that doesn't know, Alpha Chad's sitting right over here. We talk about this with sales all the time. The no they're giving is rarely the true no. The no that they're giving a lot of times for not wanting to do a boot camp or something is actually fear that I'm just going to have a panic attack the whole weekend and I'm not even going to be able to push and I'm going to embarrass myself now in front of you and you're like my hero, or in front of the other guys and I'm going to look weak. It's a lot of other things. So I learned from him just to be a fucking savage. Okay. That's where I learned to be ruthless. Okay. Was in Miami. Yeah. Yep.
So then he teaches you, he first gives you constructive criticism, and then he teaches you how to move past maybe the first way. Because before you had met Justin, did you ever think that just humor would be enough? Did you ever, when you started, before you moved to and got under his mentorship, what did you think was essential in escalating a situation before you left? Because you had some success in Columbus. You had a girlfriend. You obviously had been able to move around. You made some moves during that time. But where was your core? What was your game at that time? Humor.
All humor.
Because you're funny. You've done the stand up.
It was, can I keep making them laugh, keep projecting fun, keep projecting energy, clubs closing, come with us, we're fucking going to the fucking whatever. Let's go back to my fucking like fun and energy, amping the fun and energy, which it got me places, but it didn't get me places with hotter chicks. Yeah. Right? So with the hotter chicks, that was where I needed to then really develop that fucking I'm grabbing on your fucking lower waist. I'm like a fucking sexual creature. Gotcha. Right? So before it was like make them laugh until we're fucking. Until now we're like fucking. Until almost my makeout attempt now comes out of the blue almost. Yes. Right? It was almost like that. And then with him, I definitely can say in Miami, the quality of girl I was able to get went up because of everything I was learning from him and from just also becoming a day game savage then.
Yeah.
I had been doing day game for a little while, but in grocery stores, not going for day game pulls, not really even going for instant dates.
Yeah.
And that was where then my first lay in Miami was a same day to the fucking coffee shop, to the outdoor movie, back to my crib, like fucking middle of the day.
No.
So then from there, I would say that I pulled back a lot of my energy to have it better directed, right? And to allow more of that masculine, sexual, like when we get, like, you know, if you're saying yes to coming home with me, that you're getting fucked.
Okay.
Like you fucking know it now. You can feel it the way I'm looking at you, the way I'm talking to you. So I think I developed a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So would you say that the advancement created more aggressive authenticity? Would you say that the humor, in a way, was a sales pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say, okay, was a funny guy, but that only works on some people. Some people want to be comforted through
Yes.
some understanding, right?
Yep.
But there's other people who comfort is not enough. And I would say this almost applies specifically to, from my experience, hot girls. Let's just call them hot girls. Let's just say, I heard this really awesome thing that Patrice said. Patrice O'Neill, shout out, rest in peace, Patrice. He said that the mistake a lot of dudes make is objectively rating a girl from 1 to 10. What you should do is rate a girl from 1 to 30. Because from 1 to 30,
Yeah.
you can have a 10, like let's say she's 10, 20, 22. Let's say she's 22 as far as, yeah, she's like hot, but like how hot is she breathing? What is perfection to her? Where does she stand in that line? And I think that creates the same authenticity that you get from really hot chicks. She goes, well, what's his real intention? What's his real personality? And if you're just trying to make her laugh, for what? If you're just trying to show her off, or trying to show money off to her, rather, for what? What is your intention? And I think a lot of dudes, that advanced game that I think he taught you was that your foot in the door is humor, but it doesn't close a sale.
Yes, absolutely.
It does not close a sale.
Yep.
And I think that's something that, like, game versus naturals and guys who just get it, they don't ever even consider the sale. They just assume that the sale, that they're going to go all, if they're gonna get in the door, they're gonna go all the way to the exit. They're not gonna go in and then maybe shift around with some humor and maybe try to get like a touch here and there to maybe like their goal is the end. And I think about J Mac, and I'll never forget this one night we were out. It was him and Gina and a couple other chicks, and he was talking to this super hot girl. I don't even remember her name. Super hot girl. And he was like, "Hey, we're throwing a party after. Come if you don't want to." And he just did this. He just did this. And she was about to start to say something, and he got a text message, and he just walked away from her. And I remember her looking at him and like trying to understand what just happened. And then she was at the party.
Yeah.
She was at the party.
I think back to him too. I think that there's a type of lifestyle that you can live that is going to be conducive to getting more chicks, and I think he was like absolutely living it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's like
100%.
absolutely, and that's what I meant when I said his intentions were so good. His intentions were literally, I mean, we could say what he did for a living. No one knows who the fuck that is.
No,
it's
no.
like a little nickname,
Yeah,
whatever.
so, yeah.
Also, one, he was like a fucking drug, you know.
He was a good. He
I
was
mean,
a solid.
what?
He was a
He's probably
solid.
not even in Columbus anymore.
I don't know what he's up to these days. He's let's
We
not.
just said a little nickname.
Yeah,
Who
yeah, yeah.
gives a
He's
fuck?
yeah. So, anyways, he was a very successful drug dealer on campus.
Right,
He was doing
right,
well, and
right.
him and another roommate that we had kind of a partnership deal where they
Right.
were working with a lot of chicks, and in a way that's, again, a foot in the door.
Yeah, but then what I was gonna say too is then with him, it's not even I was gonna say that was why he was getting laid. That obviously helped in some ways, of course. It gives you, not even because he's a drug dealer, but because it gives him some status. It's because your hottest friend, Emily, like you remember like Emily? Remember Emily and her sister? Fucking tall bitches.
Yes.
They were fucking hot.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, your hot friend Emily is sitting here and being like, yeah, this guy J-Mac, and they have like this cool house and this bar or whatever. So now your hot friend who you respect more, either secretly or overtly because she's so hot, is now, so it's like status, right?
Yeah.
Also, but his intentions were so pure in the sense that I could tell all that guy was about socializing.
Yes.
And his career at that time, I don't know what he's doing now, but his career allowed him to be that way. And he was just all about the vibe of that little hippie scene.
Yeah.
That's all he did every night, was either at our house or at those Weird Wednesdays or other bars. All his intentions were to have cool after parties and to kick it with people and to like vibe.
Yeah.
So then when that's all your intention is, now you can really create that. And even I don't want to use the word create. He wasn't trying to create anything.
It was just
it
all,
was
it was
truly
organic. Yeah.
to hang with people and to vibe. It was all good vibes.
Absolutely.
And dude, I'm then more, but now still, I'm just a high-strung person.
No.
I used to really envy people like that. I still do, actually. I still really envy that lifestyle, being able to be that person. It just ain't me.
Yeah.
If I'm like just dicking around too much and hanging out too much, I just feel bad about myself. I'm not like, I just don't feel good. So then even if I am like me and my old roommates, we got like a good kind of like social circle thing going. We were, getting these like nightly things going at bars. We were having like big house parties, all this stuff. And I just remember, even for me at that time, it was just about fucking. I didn't care to really be friends with all these people that were around and like maybe do a barbecue now. It was like, no, how can I fuck girls at these parties?
Right.
And, that one has a boyfriend. I'm not even going to talk to her or her stupid fucking boyfriend.
Right.
So I've just never had that intention. I've never been that pure, I guess. And being that pure and that intention of connection and vibe is a great way to be around those people. And then they sense that authentic energy of like, yeah, he's just chill, man.
Just chill, dude.
People won't meet me and be like, Aaron's so chill. Aaron's so chill. No, I hope people say other things, a go-getter, maybe he's funny, like these things. But I'm never going to be the person where people met me and like, Aaron seems really chill.
Yeah.
I'm just high-strung and fucking crazy. And so he had that kind of, that social aspect going, which was really good for him.
Yeah, it developed a social structure that they could just live off of.
Mm-hmm.
They got what they wanted. He ended up meeting Emma that way and just doing his whole thing. But yeah, dude, I think there's something to be said on. There's definitely something to be said on like authenticity, and when it comes to game, it seems like just being straightforward with your intentions. Like it's better. It's in the long run. It's always better to know exactly where you stand. And I think about in the past with my learning from girls that I didn't end up with, that I wanted to be with. It was that I was trying to be something that I wasn't. If I look back on a main reason, I was trying to be overtly nice. I was trying to be overtly sensitive. I was trying to be into shit that I didn't like. You know what I mean?
So you had like nice guy syndrome at a certain point.
My God. So like there was one, I think everybody has one girl like that makes them either realize, it either helps you develop as a man or it destroys you. Yeah. And I think it depends on your age and it depends on like what happens necessarily. Obviously there's some crazy chicks out there who do crazy shit. But I had one girl that I felt like if I just was nice enough to her all the time, no matter what she did, then it would work. If I was just like a guy on
the stripper?
No.
Oh.
No, definitely not the stripper.
Okay.
No, key life lesson, don't be nice to strippers. If you want strippers, don't be nice to them.
Dude, she was fucking hot. I remember. I couldn't believe you were fucking her. And we were young.
Yeah, I know. We stopped talking, but we used to fuck a lot.
You were fucking even here in LA.
We almost got married. It was another life lesson. Never marry a stripper because, don't do that. just because, like, there are better things to do with your life.
No explanation needed.
None.
Just don't.
Just because, listen to that fucking
don't
sentence.
Stick your hand in the fire.
Don't do it. But no, dude, like, there's been times where the girl could smell the authenticity, and when I got friend zoned, it's almost like a double-edged sword, because that authenticity now I go, well, look what I wasn't authentic, and look where I'm at now.
Yep.
Now I'm placed in a zone where I can only be this to her.
Mm-hmm.
I can only be this narrative of who I wanted to be to try to fuck her. It wasn't anything more. And if I switch that and go, oh man, like, come to my house, you trying to, like, fuck or whatever, then we can't be friends.
Yep.
Because she goes, oh, well, that's not who you are. You're not that guy. You're the guy that listens to me complain.
I've already categorized you as something else, and now I don't think I could switch you.
Yeah,
to
and I feel like
thing.
the nice guy zone comes quick and swift. It comes quick and swift. If the best thing you can have to get a girl in a nightclub zone is uncertainty. It is by far if she knows for sure you're a nice guy, then other things come into factor. Well, how do you look? How tall are you? Are you attractive? Are you rich? Blah, 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 blah. But if you get her uncertainty going, if you go, okay, well, his intentions seem like he's actually trying to fuck me. Am I trying to fuck him? Is he like fuckable? All that stuff. Then that is a way better headspace for you to be in.
My game before game was always become as good of friends with the girl as humanly possible, then get drunk enough to, like, tell her my feelings.
Yes.
That was always my game.
And
you remember Brittany, my old roommate?
I remember Brittany.
So Brittany was fucking some guy for a little bit when we were around 21. I went to high school with that guy. He was high school sweethearts with this girl, Rachel. And Rachel and I would smoke weed together all the time. We would just hang out and smoke weed, and I was running my game, becoming her best fucking friend. I was Fat Aaron. I was her little fucking best friend. The weed, we'd smoke weed together. We'd meet together before high school, all this. And dude, I don't think I've ever told this story. The first night I ever did acid, I do acid. Maybe best night of my life still. Maybe still the best night of my life.
Yeah.
Do acid, no bad trip, no fucking, we all go to this hookah bar in downtown Cleveland, it's fucking so fun.
Nice.
I'm coming down from acid, and somebody says, hey, there's a big party at whoever's house, I forget. We go to this big party. I'm coming down, so I feel great, I'm social, I'm like, ah! And the chick's boyfriend is there. And this kid was just one of those kids that fights. He had been in fights at school. He's fighting, you hear that he's fighting whoever. He's like a badass, aggressive fucking kid.
Yeah.
And this is now her boyfriend. And dude, at this party, as I'm coming down off acid, he fucking comes up to me. And dude, I ain't fighting anybody. I'm fucking fat little fucking shit, man. And he comes up to me, and it's kind of like in a private setting. Thank God it wasn't super public, or else he might have tried to show off more or something. But he comes up to me, and he's like, are you trying to fuck my fucking girlfriend? Like, in my face and shit. And I'm like, dude, no, like, what the fuck? And then he is, like, literally, like, making me move backwards as he's, like, coming at me. And he's like, I should rip off your stupid fucking Element t-shirt. I'm wearing an Element t-shirt. And I'm like, dude, like, no. And I'm like, and bro, like, I'm kind of on acid still right now. Could you please, like, just not, like, can we not do this right now? He's like, don't fucking talk to Rachel anymore. And he shoves me and yells, like, don't fucking talk to Rachel anymore. And I remember the part that made me the most mad was that I knew Rachel was not interested in me at all. I would have been less mad if something was going on or I thought it could.
Right, yeah.
I knew Rachel didn't want to fuck me to such a level that I almost wanted to look at him and be like, if I knew these words at the time, like, dude, I'm like her beta simp, like, gay fat little friend that she smokes weed with. Like, trust me, you have nothing to worry. But I remember that making me even more mad was that there truly was nothing and I wanted there to be, though. So I just was like, fuck, this is double demeaning. This is brutal. But that was my game. That was what I did.
Yeah,
and I did it with so many girls. And lo and behold, it never worked.
Nah, dude.
Shocking.
It doesn't work. But the dude who's willing to fight you is okay.
Meanwhile, he's fucking fucking her. He's fucking her. He's fucking Rachel.
Dude, it's a what an important lesson to learn it along, and it also didn't cost you getting punched in the face, which, you know, that's another lesson that you learn young from game is sometimes you gotta handle confrontation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of dudes, that's another fear that dudes have that they won't secretly admit. And I think it's a weird thing to have. I think we're in such a comfortable society that you forget that there are dudes out here that will fuck you up for small stuff. I live in LA, I see people fight over. I see all kinds of shit. I see all kinds of fights and stuff. And a lot of them are unnecessary, but the thing they have in common is that one dude usually doesn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to because, like, you need to, as a man, you need to have that in the back pocket. Do you know what I mean? You need to have that understanding. If you're dealing with a lot of women, you need to have that as an understanding.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys, they go, okay, well, a nightclub scenario is good for that because then there are groups of girls, whatever, I don't have to worry about. Or maybe one guy, or they're at a table, there's one guy. It's usually a social situation that this guy won't risk getting kicked out to beat you up for talking to his girl. Now, there are obviously variations of that. I see it happen all the time.
Yeah.
Dudes will do that to you. But a big part of martial arts training, boxing, being in shape, understanding how to defend yourself, I think goes towards alleviating that fear of you have a newer video out, right, that you're talking about how you're in Vegas. You're talking about how to deal with peer pressure, social environment, being afraid that someone's, and you told that story about the guy going up and talking to the girl in line, and now everybody in line is looking at them, right?
Yep.
The fear that comes with that isn't necessarily of someone violence. It's more just ridicule and criticism.
Yeah.
But the feeling is the same. The feeling of someone confronting you, challenging you to something that you're doing. Now, she starts talking to the girl. Boyfriend could have went and got them a fucking Dippin' Dots.
Yeah.
Comes back, and now he's like, "Why are you talking to her?" It's a whole thing. You just apologize and move on. Most guys, amicable. They won't be thrilled about it, but they go, okay. In a way, it reassures yourself too, because you got a hot enough girlfriend, and some dude would just come randomly up to you. So a lot of dudes let it go. They let it go. But I think like an important part of self-development and is being able to know that you can defend yourself in a situation, and that keeps you it keeps you comfortable under pressure.
Yeah.
Because talking to a stranger, there is certain pressure, regardless of what you want from her, sex, relationship, long-term relationship, whatever you want from her, there is a certain pressure on you immediately. And you talk about approach anxiety, and it's so weird. Like with approach anxiety, I feel like that's a big part of this is just mental pressure, a mental feeling of pressure, a mental feeling of, okay, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
How could I deal with this if she's got a huge boyfriend? How could I deal with this if her friends start to ridicule me? And now she wants nothing to do with me because she's definitely not going to risk ridicule from her friends to keep talking to me unless I'm just fascinating.
I have found 100% that if the guy's giving you the opportunity to talk in any way, I had a buddy, we were in fucking Louisville, Kentucky, and dude, cold from the side. I mean, which that's so rare. I don't even want to put that out there because that's so rare that a human is so fucking insecure that could ever happen. So I don't even like putting that out there. But what I found is that if you just own the fact that you were hitting on her and you didn't know it was his chick, they'll respect that, and it diffuses it pretty quick.
100%.
Right? So you're talking to some chick, and a lot of times what the guys will do is they'll come in and like grab onto her, right, and like face you, and then instead of just like oh like whatever, it's just like, oh shit, is this like is this your chick? He'll be like yeah, even if he's still not aggressive, say like yeah it is. Oh my bad, dude, I was gonna hit on her, I didn't know she was with anybody. And then he's like all right cool, like whatever, and then you just like move on. Well, you guys have a good night. But don't hide that you were hitting on her. I've had the same thing happen just even in the grocery store where I'm hitting on some chick. She's got the cart. Boyfriend comes up. I'm like, oh shit, are you guys together? And he's like, yeah, or she says yeah. I'm just like, oh my bad, dude. I thought she was single. He's like, yeah, you're good. If you just own it, then they're not usually gonna be like, well, you should have known she was. It's like, what do they say to that?
Well, in a way, it is a confrontation.
Yeah.
So in a way, I feel like you have to embrace confrontation sometimes.
Yes.
Especially as a man. It may not even reflect. It might be beneficial for you in a club setting. Let's say same thing happens. You go, okay, I'm sorry, I thought she was single. And then one of the other girls goes, oh, did you see that guy hitting on my friend? I'm single. Like,
Right.
now you're talking to the other girls. Now this girl might be interested in you. And I feel like we're getting comfortable with arguing not in person. So we forget that confrontation is a normal human emotion. Sometimes, like, it's a respect thing at the end of the day. It's really about respect. And like you said, there's a dominance thing. Like if you're talking to my girl and I'm like, yo, my girl or whatever, if you go, oh, and you walk off, then I feel the same way that like instinctually a predator feels when something that is objective to me is being threatened. I'm not saying that a woman is an object, which is in a way a relationship possession. And so for me, there is an emotional attachment to that, especially if you could just talk to her in 10 minutes and then put your penis in her. If that's something that's even possible.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely gonna elicit emotion.
Yeah.
So I have far more respect, and I see guys respect each other way more in the club when there is that confrontation. And it doesn't have to be aggressive.
Yeah.
He was talking to my girl, blah blah blah. My bad, bro. I didn't know. It's a dark club. There's a ton of girls. She was just in a line of girls going to the bathroom. My bad.
Yeah.
Way more. But it's like, it's necessary. It's necessary.
The worst thing you can do that's going to cause confrontation is completely ignoring dudes that are like even with the girls or around the chicks.
Yes, yeah.
If you're just completely ignoring them, that's when, like you said, the predator is kind of protecting its nest. Is now going to be like, who's this?
Yeah, it's a
Who the
respect
fuck is
thing.
this? What's
It's a
happening?
respect
It is a
thing.
respect thing.
And it's not even about like a competition thing. You don't know any of these people's situations. So going back to the approach anxiety, I think this all comes down to a mental pressure of it being like you going, what is worst case scenario here? And if you embrace worst case scenario, okay, this dude doesn't, which I see all the time. Some dude will come in just talking to people, and he'll be like, hey man, can you get this guy the fuck out of here? Okay. Hey man, listen, guy doesn't want you talking to his chicks.
Yep.
Paid $5,000 for this table. Doesn't want you talking to a chick. I go, okay, my bad, dude. He goes on. But that usually happens when the dude talks to just the chicks, completely isolates the dude.
Yeah.
It usually happens when a couple guys come up and they try to steal the girls without seeing the social order. There's at least in nightclub game at the level that I'm at with these tables and luxury spots, there is a hierarchy, and it's literal because people stand on the pay money to stand on fucking dirty couches and shit just to be over other people. There's no real physical reason why if anything, it's dangerous. You're fucking drinking alcohol. You're drunk as fuck. It's a health concern. I can't believe we even allow it, but we allow it because it is a hierarchy. It is an actual structure that we all agree
It's
exists.
their version of a stage. They can pay for the stage.
It is. Then you have the bottle service come, which illuminates your stage in this dark club. So then you're most vividly represented for 30 to 50 seconds, depending on how much money you spend. Sometimes a minute if you spend $5,000 a bottle. Just depends on how much money you spend.
Yeah.
But all this is a social structure, and it creates a hierarchy. And I 100% say embrace other dudes when it comes to gaming. Embrace other dudes. Do not be afraid of other dudes. You never know. They could help you. I've had situations where it's just me. If I go out solo, I meet some dudes. I go, hey man, I know you from blah 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 blah. Then suddenly we're now both gaming on the same. We're gaming on girls. Now we both have something in common. Now we're not competing with each other. And I think that's just like that's definitely something that you get in advanced game. I think about when we went to 4th Street Bar, and there was this dude took a chair from us. We were just sitting there. It was just such a random, small incident. You and I were having a conversation, and this dude just came up while we were sitting there. Didn't even ask if we had more people coming. Just stole the chair from us and sat down. And you turned to him, and you were like, damn, you just took the chair? And he was like, yeah. And you were like, damn, you're such an alpha, dude. That was an alpha move.
Oh, fuck.
And then you turned back around, and he was like, yeah. And that was it. But it was a necessary. It was necessary because it was a necessary confrontation. It didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But it says to him, "You're a fucking man. Don't do that shit." Like, it's not something that has to be expressed. It's very, very subtle.
Yeah.
But the implication is instinctual.
That's so funny. I almost had a guy this past summer trying to fucking fight me for actually like the same thing. I was sitting at a table. I was with Jason, and I don't remember what girls we were with, but we were with like 2-3 chicks. We're sitting at a table. Same thing. Chair sitting there. Dude just comes up, grabs it, and I was like, hey, and he like turns, and I'm like, put it back. And he's like, doesn't look like anybody's using it. And I'm like, put it back. We got other people coming. He's like, how about I use it for now when I see the other people come up? And I'm like, dude, put it the fuck back. Just put it the fuck back. And then he like is like now hovering over me. And he's like, you gonna fucking make me put this chair back? I'm like, dude, put the fucking chair back. What are you talking about? We got friends coming. Put the chair back. And he was like ready to fucking fight me. And I'm sitting there like, oh, should I like get up now? This dude's gonna start swinging at me at this fucking table. But yeah, man, you can't let people walk all over you in life. In general. Because if you do that, you let women walk all over you. And back to what we were talking about with the idea of like authenticity and not being just the funny guy, but also the dude that fucks, right? Because so many guys, they don't get viewed by women or by anybody as the dude that fucks, right? Like you can see people walking on the street, and if you were categorizing them, you could say that dude looks like he fucks, right? That dude doesn't really seem like he fucks, and that's a big thing too, is just being authentic in your sexual nature with these chicks through physicality, through not being afraid to fucking be grabbing onto a girl, even if you just met her.
Right.
Something small. I always tell guys in night game, side hug off the rip. Like fucking side hug at least right off the open instead of doing the fucking handshake every time. It's crazy shit. But yeah, dude, those 4th Street days, man, I miss day drinking at 4th Street.
Oh, God. Day drinking.
I'm glad we got to drink together at least once during this last year and a half of me drinking again.
Right, yeah.
Because I'm sober again. I'm almost 4 months into it, and I'm going back on many years again. It just turns out it ain't for me. I get a little out of hand. So, yeah, we got to... What do we do? We just got wasted up on my fucking rooftop.
Yeah.
We were drinking White Claws.
Like 2-3 cases of White Claws over a day or two.
I came out with my shorts on, the flower shirt, my man bun, and those giant Versace glasses. And you come up, and I'm walking up to you, you're at your car, and you're like, you look like a GTA villain. I'm like, yup.
Yeah, dude, good fucking times, good times, man. So much, and we... You know, even then we sat out there and talked till like 5 a.m. about all the different experiences we had with, we were talking about game and the different women, you know, in our lives and everything. And it's amazing. Friendships are amazing because like you develop, evolve, and you see your friends do things that you're just like, shit, like, if they're successful, they become successful people, you go, wow, like, they move full circle. And it's interesting to see us from Charlie Bear in Columbus, drinking, going to the club, not pulling, but having a good time, to just living a life that we kind of both have created. We've both been able to get to, you know, the next step, where you're at a level now where we're in Vegas, and you're so comfortable. You're so comfortable. And that's way different. You know what I mean? When we used to go out to Vegas, when we used to go out to Charlie Bear, rather, there's a need. Do you know what I'm saying? Back to the need versus want. There's a need to talk. There's a need to go. There's a need to be a part of. Now you're at want. And want is so different. Want is you going, we're at the club, but I want to go outside. I want to leave the club. I want to go to the lobby and game.
And you got to have that. You got to have that with chicks, too. You got to have that willingness to walk. You got to have that knowledge that, no, I'm not going to simp or do whatever ridiculous bullshit, jump through the hoops this girl's trying to get me to jump through because I already have chicks.
Right.
Brand new city where I don't know anybody, I know I'm going to have chicks. So I'm not going to fucking jump through your hoops. And I see guys jumping through hoops all the fucking time.
It's crazy.
No, you don't get it. This girl's different because blah, blah, blah. No, she ain't. No, I promise you she's fucking not, man. You can't lose your dignity with girls because when you do and then it still doesn't go well, Like if you do everything right and then it doesn't go well, you're like, fuck it. That's another thing
Right.
Justin Wayne used to always say is he'd be like, stay loyal to your game, not the girl. Stay loyal to your fucking game. Like run the game properly. Run
Right.
the system
Right.
properly.
Right.
Because then when you don't, when you do lose your dignity with a chick, jump through these hoops, go against all of your fucking values,
Right.
and then it doesn't go well, now you're left feeling like, ugh. Now you feel
Right.
gross.
That's
You're
exactly
like,
what
ugh.
it's like to gamble without limits.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's exactly what it's like to go to Vegas and tell yourself, it's just $300 more. It's just $500 more, and I'm gonna be fucking better.
Dude, I gotta
I'm
hit
gonna
the
be better.
fucking casino again.
Better.
Bro, we should just go to Vegas this week. Let's do a day trip to fucking Vegas and go play some fucking blackjack. That'd be sick.
That would be sick.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. How long did we do?
An hour and 11 minutes.
Okay,
Cool.
nice. Alpha
Yeah.
Chat has informed me we got 15 minutes left of memory here. So, all right, well, bro, thank you for being on the fucking show.
Absolutely.
You
Always
were on
pleasure.
you were on the Noob Thoughts Internet Radio
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Still got your the Noob Thoughts business card.
Hell yeah.
In my pocket.
Yep,
Hell yeah.
yep. The old podcast
Yeah.
back in that old dingy room. Dude, my room was so small that I had to sleep with my fucking mattress on. My mattress was always on the ground, and then there'd be a huge table where that was the whole podcast studio. Then to do the podcast, I had to lift the mattress up off the ground and pull it into the hallway.
I remember. Yeah.
And then set the table up. And a lot of times then maybe I'd go drinking afterwards or something. I'd come home, not want to tear down the studio to put the mattress in. So then I would just sleep on my fucking floor with a blanket and a pillow like under this table. It was
I remember
crazy.
we came back drunk one night and we came up to your room to get something and you were like asleep, but your mattress was outside of the floor. And we were like, where the fuck is Aaron? He can't be asleep in there. Why is his mattress just hanging out? It's like right when you first got the podcast equipment and stuff. I remember we were looking for you for like 2 hours, but you had just gone. We all left 4th Street. You had just gone and went upstairs and went to sleep.
Dude, there is nothing better than day drinking at 4th Street. I fucking
Good
love that shit
times.
so much.
Oh, man.
I remember one time you and I, we'll end the podcast on this. You and I don't remember what time it was, but we started doing coke at an hour that you shouldn't start doing coke. It was like 2:30 already. It should have just been like, let's pass out. We start doing coke. I'm getting horny, so I'm like blowing up this chick to hang out. I hadn't even gone on a date yet. I'm blowing up this girl to hang out. She's like, LOL, you're still up, haha. She's like, listen, I'm busy tomorrow evening, but if you want to meet up for lunch tomorrow, we can meet up for lunch. And then we do coke for so long that we end up, you and I just going and continuing drinking at 4th Street. Then I fucking have the girl come and meet me there for the date. And I just now been up for 36 hours. I'm all coked out, wasted, trying to like keep my cool with this chick.
Oh my God.
And then I do end up getting her to come back with me, and she's teaching me salsa. And we're dancing up in my room, and I keep like trying to fuck her. And she's like, no, never on the first date, never on the first date. I'm like, please, you don't know the journey to get to you right now. Oh, God. Those are good times.
Those were
Well,
good
fuck
fucking
yeah.
times.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
guys, sign up for a boot camp, evolutionally.com/coaching, coming to New York, Miami, all over the fucking country. I'm too tired to do a solid fucking plug or an outro.
Take a boot camp. Do it.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
in LA.
you were on the boot camp last weekend.
I was in Vegas. It was a great time. It was a great boot camp. Everybody was super chill, and there was a ton of value.
It was fun.
Value learned.
It was
Yeah,
good. It was good shit.
It was a lot of fun there.
All right, guys, peace.